Good evening, IL family, and welcome back to your Monday night broadcast here where we talk about positive living via simple truths. It's Lady Timiel here, and I pray that it has been a blessed week. And for those of you that are mothers, I pray that it was a blessed and wonderful Mother's Day celebration for you, and it's happy Monday. And so I hope the week is off to a good start, but I want to start you off with something positive, something to think about this week. And so as you can see on tonight, our topic is put compromise in its place. And so what do I mean about this? When we think about compromise, we think about coming to a place of agreement or conceding on a thing. Generally, most of us have a hard time with compromise, especially when it comes to relationships, those close to us, those that are family members. But we will tend to compromise for things that we desire. We tend to compromise in the wrong categories. And so therefore, tonight I wanted to talk to you about putting compromise in its place. And so on tonight, I was attending an event last week, and one of the quotes that this gentleman said, it stuck out to me. And he said that it takes a lifetime to build a reputation and only 5 seconds to kill it. And so on tonight, I want to talk to you about not killing what you've already built, not killing what God has already given you, what he's already built in your life. See, a lot of us, we're steadily going along. We're steadily doing this thing God's way. And sometimes when we do things God's way, because his time is not our timing, it seems like it's taking forever. And we just want to find the shortcut. We want to find the way that we can get to that goal. We want to find the way that we can get to that thing, that promise, that thing we've been hoping for. And so sometimes we compromise, but compromise has its place, and it generally has no place in the areas for which we are actually applying it. And so this gentleman was talking about, he was actually presenting a product, and he wanted to let us know that we didn't have to worry about him being some guy that was trying to take things from us or take our money or get us in some gimmick, because of what his grandfather had told him, that it takes you your entire life to build a reputation, and you don't want to lose it in 5 seconds by compromising, by giving in to greed, by giving in to not being patient and obedient and waiting for God to move into your life. So when you look up that word compromise, it talks about a person that gives in to concessions. Generally, you give in to demands. And how do you do that in your life? Well, when a situation arises, you may know that you have a solution standing before you that may not be a God solution. But instead of you saying, no, I'm not going to take that solution, I'm not going to take that route, I'm not going to take that road, I'm going to stay on the narrow path if it takes me even longer, I'm not going to take that. You see that low-hanging fruit, and sometimes we give in to the compromise. Sometimes we give into the backbiting. Sometimes we give into the pushing our brother or sister to the side if that means that I get to go forward first. Sometimes you won't even promote what you know that is something great that God is doing in someone else's life, because you're too concerned that it might overpower what it is that God is doing in you. You cannot be like that. And so on the night, I don't want you to put compromise in the wrong place in your life. I want you to compromise in the proper places in life. And so when we yield to a thing, when we give into a thing, we are granting a thing access in our life when we compromise. And we've got to make sure we're compromising in the right place. Can I tell you one place that you should be compromising on tonight? And that is when it's come to God. That's whom you should be yielding to. That's whom you should be giving into and surrendering to. Not to situations, not to things, not to get rich quick schemes, not to, okay, I'm jumping over hurdles. If the favor of God pushes you forward, if God propels time and pushes you to a place, then that is fine. But you cannot give in to the compromise that is going to compromise who you are in God. You cannot do that. You cannot afford to do that. And so what you're working for, what God has given you, what God has spoken over your life, you got to realize that it's worth the work. It's worth the time. It's worth the process that you got to go through on tonight. And sometimes that takes a long time. You hear about people that's been at things for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden it seems like it ignites. All of a sudden it seems like it's golden, but it's because they had to go through that process until God says yes. And so it reminded me of Daniel on tonight. Daniel in chapter 6. Daniel was someone who had the favor of God on his life. He was devoted. He served God. He worshiped God. And Daniel was put over the administrators. It was him and 2 other people that were put over these different aspects of the land. But the Bible teaches us that Daniel Daniel excelled in what he did. It was the character of Daniel. It was who he was in God. It was that excellent spirit that God had given Daniel that gave him that favor. And so the favor of God was on Daniel, and that made other people jealous. Can I tell you on the night that as you're excelling, as God is moving you forward, as he is elevating you, as you're going on your path, as different things are hitting and it looks like, your life is just like boom, bam, pow. There are going to be people that are going to set a trap because they're not pleased with it. And they're going to put that low hanging fruit in your face. They're going to say, I've got the next connection for you. You should come over here and try this. You should come over here and listen to this. But if God doesn't lead you, if the Holy Spirit doesn't guide you to that thing, on tonight, I don't want you to compromise. On tonight, if something doesn't seem like it's for you, if it doesn't seem as if that's the way that God is leading you, don't you go just because it seems like it's going to be a quick connect for you, because you know that God has orchestrated your path. And so they set up a trap. They set up a plan. They set up this great plan because they wanted to go and tell the king that Daniel wasn't worshiping his God, his small God. He wasn't worshiping. And Daniel said, I'm not going to compromise. I only worship the true and living God. And so I'm not going to compromise. If it kills me, I'm not going to compromise. And that's the kind of attitude we've got to have on today. Whatever something is calling us to that's not for us, that temptation that may be trying to pull you away because you're getting a little tired and a little weary, you got to be strong and you got to trust God. And Daniel kept worshiping God. We all know the story. He kept on worshiping God. And we know that he got thrown in the lion's den. And we know how he slept in the belly and how God protected him. And it caused the king to worship his Lord. So on the night, I want to encourage us, if we put compromise in its place and we do not compromise in areas that God has not told us to concede. And God generally only tells you to concede in places where he wants you to be at peace and in agreement. And that's generally where we say no. In our homes, in our relationships, when it comes to things in our family, we will stand toe to toe. But when we get out here and we want these things and we desire these things and we desire what it is that God's given us, because he's shown you the picture, he's shown you the vision, you may be tempted to compromise. And on the night, I just want to tell you, do not compromise. Put compromising in its place. God is building something great in you. He's making his name great in you, but your character matters. It matters what steps you take. It matters what you connect yourself to. And on tonight, I want you to stay true to who it is that God has called you to be. I want you to stay true to it is. Go on the path that God has given you. It may seem longer than others. It may seem like you're not moving as fast as others, but on tonight, I want us not to compromise. And we are going to trust God and we are going to go forward and we're going to put compromise in its place. And if you're ever going to concede, yield to God and yield in the relationships that he teaches you to yield in, but never compromise your character and who God has called you to be. I pray that this has been encouraging to you on tonight. I pray that you will be mindful of this as you continue on your journey and in your path. And when it don't seem right, don't do it. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful and great evening. And I pray you all have a blessed week. And I'll talk to you next week as we talk about something else dealing with positive living via simple truths. Good night.